we have seen that Trimet has corrected their previous error where they eliminated the audio of the first 45 minutes of their board meeting, which included this budget hearing, and they've reposted the budget hearing. So we're going to go through this. This is a very important meeting because at this meeting you will hear the very detailed specifics of what Trimet is planning to do. So it's important, if you're a Trimet watcher, you need to listen to this. It's more important than the actual board meeting. So let's listen to this budget hearing meeting with this, I don't know who the hell they are. There's some wing of the Metro, but here's where they tell you the nuts and bolts of what they're going to do. So let's get going on this. This is an hour meeting.
Supervising and Conservation Commission provides Trimet with this public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to promote public discussion of Trimet's budget. The Commission wants this discussion to promote thoughtful consideration of this and future budget issues. Trimet will make the first presentation this morning, then I will ask our staff to summarize the budget. Then we will ask our questions and discuss the budget with you. Following this discussion, we will take testimony from the public. There are some cards in the back. If anyone from the public wishes to provide comments, you can just sign up and then we'll call your name at the end of the presentations. With that, I'll ask the Commission to identify themselves and declare any public conflict or any conflicts of interest. And my name is David Behringer and I'm the chair.
I'm Mark Wibold, and I'm a Northeast Portland citizen, and I work at Portland State University.
I'm James Offsink, and I'm a TSCC commissioner and also work at OHSU. No conflicts of interest.
Craig?
My name is Craig Gibbons. I'm staff to the commission.
Toonie Betchart, staff.
Great, thank you. And we have one more commissioner who's probably stuck in traffic. Okay, with that, I'll ask the Trimet people to introduce themselves.
All right. Well, good morning, and thank you, Chair Behringer and the commissioners for being here. I understand this is the first budget you've actually had the pleasure of taking on this year, so we're glad. Hope we started off well for you. I want to give you a few brief remarks about the fiscal year 2018 budget that's before you today, and I just want to remind you, last year, Trimet had an aggressive budget, and I think we fulfilled its goal of that was outlined in that budget of expanding service while working to renew aging pieces of our infrastructure. And just a couple highlights, the things you may remember from the budget. We were doing major max improvements in the Rose Quarter and Southwest 11th Avenue and Morrison at Yamhill. Those were completed on time and with minimal disruptions. One thing we're really proud of, our rail reliability increased from about 83.7% up to 87.2%.
You realize, of course, that's a highly fraudulent figure, because what happens with the rail is when the trains get late, they just actually stop two trains and the operators get out and switch trains, and that's how they get back on time. Okay, it's basically they just drop whole trips. So the 87% on time, you know, it's very questionable as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I listen to the operation and there's delays constantly. Now, I understand that I'm only listening to, they only call in when there's a delay, okay? You don't hear things going normally. I'm listening to all the problems, and, you know, look, first of all, I don't believe anything that comes out of Trimet, okay? I think they're one of the least honest government agencies I've ever run into. And second of all, they do have all these little tricks to fudge their statistics.
That doesn't sound like a lot, but we're continuing to edge upward. You know, I think you had some questions about that, and we'll get into that later. We did expand service on several bus lines. We made it through a number of snow and ice events, not necessarily unscathed, but we did make it through those. And we made tremendous progress on our Hop Fast program, which is now in beta testing, which I also know you have some questions about. And with the budget that brings the board here today, we want to continue with smart investments in growing and improving the overall transit system here in the Portland region. As we begin discussions around the FY 2018 budget, I want to make it clear that we had some discussions with the board about what our priorities were and the key themes and key priorities. Number one, safety. Just want to make that clear. It's something we talk about a lot. The second, and not necessarily in any order after that, was expanding service through our service enhancement plans, maintaining and preserving the system, in other words, keep it running and keep it in good condition, improve system reliability, building ridership through quality service and innovation, and then advancing regional corridor projects. And the next one is a Southwest Corridor project that we're working on to hope get that funded and underway. So what you see before you in the budget accomplishes those directives that we think in a very well thought out strategy. The budget does remain consistent with the board fund balance policy and our pension funding policy, which I think we talked about in past years. And it also fits within a framework of a strategic financial strategic financial plan that this board has carefully developed and adopted. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Neil McFarland, Trimet's General Manager, to walk you through some of the details.
Okay.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, Mr. Board President and Chair, just to do some introductions.
Yes, please.
Of the
Oh, that's a good idea.
team and staff, and perhaps we could
That's a
start
good
with
idea.
Board Member Stovall.
Travis Stovall, I represent District 6.
I'm Linda Simmons, and I represent District 3.
And Randy.
John Gardner, I represent Transit. Good morning, Doug Kelsey, Chief Operating Officer.
Dee Brookshire, I'm Chief Financial Officer.
Nancy Young, Director of Budget and Grants Administration.
Good morning, Chris Tucker, Director of Revenue Operations. Good morning, Steve Witter, Executive Director of Capital Projects.
Bernie Bottomley, Executive Director of Public Policy.
Harry Support, Executive Director of Safety and Security.
Lori Bauman, I'm a member of the board, District 4.
Craig Prosser, Board Member, District 7, which is essentially Clackamas County.
T. Allen Bethel, District 5 Vice President.
And I apologize, my name is Bruce Warner. I'm the President of the Trimet Board and represent District 1. Thank you very much.
Who needs no introduction? Thank you very much. And perhaps just to build on Chair Warner's remarks, we have crafted this budget around the board's established sets of priorities, which were really part of a very thorough discussion earlier with our Finance and Audit Committee as well as the full board. And just to note some of those major elements that are included under those themes. Under the theme of safety, we have included the funding for a number of enhanced pedestrian crossings, particularly in the older segments of our line, east side, but also the west side. We also have a great deal of effort associated with our rail operators' rule compliance. We had a safety audit in the last year that indicated we have some work ahead of us, and that work is well underway, and we certainly can speak further about that. We're continuing our implementation of a safety management system, which will be a federal requirement, is a federal requirement, but more than that is an important way to really try to instill a culture of safety throughout every part of Trimet. We've continued.
If you follow any of my material, you know the culture of safety is a farce, a lie. Especially when it comes to the operators, there's no safety there. Okay, they're pushed to work as much as possible. They're pushed all the time to stay on time. There's no culture of safety when it comes to the operations. So that's a lie. Let's call it what it is.
Recertification training for our operators, and actually added some training resources associated particularly with the rail side. And we have continued investments in upgrading our CCTV system so it's digital and more automatic, and frankly we've had the ability to have that in the past. Under service, this budget proposes to increase our bus service by about 4.1%, which is one of the larger percentages we've seen, at least I've seen since I've been general manager. And it also has some substantial investments associated with improving reliability of our service, both on the bus side as well as on the rail side. And we're happy to discuss some of those initiatives with you further. We also have a number of investments associated with maintaining and preserving the system. I have the sort of perspective of being around Trimet for a while. While when I started, we had a brand shiny new light rail system, and that system now is 30 years old in terms of the east side system, going on to 31, and that means a number of investments are necessary, and that will continue and increase as we begin to see the aging of our other pieces of infrastructure, the west side and the other alignments coming up. So. Under improving reliability, we have improvements in our control center staffing. We're adding more personnel related to maintenance, particularly focusing on a new quality assurance program within our maintenance department to make sure that when we fix something, it's a permanent or close to permanent fix. And more personnel in the maintenance workforce, which is key to the reliability of the system, as you can understand. We're looking to build ridership through quality service and innovation. And again, the service increase is, I think, key to that, but also continuing to improve the services that we currently offer. And as Board Chair Warner noted, we're advancing regional corridor projects, and we're working on really two. One is our Division Transit project, and the other is the Southwest Corridor. And we're certainly happy to answer any questions you may have like that, about that. And I would just note that we're continuing to see the benefits of the increase in the payroll tax rate that the board approved a year ago September. So we're into that ramp up of service, which is a gradual ramp up. We have lots of demands and requests for more service around the region, and we're responding to that, but there still is, even at 4.1% increase, which is a large increase, there's a certain pace that we have to limit ourselves to related to the resources available. And also just to note, for the 6th year in a row, we will not have a fare increase for our riders, and indeed, the most recent fare action the board took was to reduce the price of the youth pass, youth fare.
Right, there's been no increases in the last several years, but Trimet still remains one of the least affordable transit agencies of its size. You can verify that scrolling through my blog. You'll see a post that references the people that did the studies, and Trimet is not an affordable transit system.
So I would also just note one of the great projects that we have underway right now, and I suspect you'll have more questions about this, is our Fast Pass, our electronic fare system, and we're really excited to be bringing that to our customers beginning this summer. Some of us are beginning to use it even now as we speak. So I think this builds on the past budgets that you've seen, it builds on the investment program that you've seen, but it also responds to the board's established priorities and strategic financial plans. So we think it's a good, solid spending plan, and look forward to your questions on that.
Thank you. With that, Craig, did you want to make a presentation?
I can add nothing to that other than just a fundamental fact is that the budget is only increasing less than 0.5% this year from last year. All of that.
So you just said the budget's increasing less than 0.5% from last year. I don't understand how that's possible. Didn't the higher tax rates kick in this year? They increased the payroll tax, and it was more than 0.5%, or was it 0.5%? I don't know. I know that it seems a little questionable that that's all they're saying. The budget's increased by 0.5%.
Okay. Let's see. So we start our questions then? Okay. I'll take the first one, which is on the Fast Pass, which you guys introduced to us. At least last year we talked a little about, and I think even the year before you probably had a little bit about it. So it's about ready to go live in July, and this seems to be happening on time and on budget. If that's true, if you could let us know, and how the testing is going, and what lessons you've learned, and what you might do differently, and how this will affect. Well, I'll do the other one last. So let's just talk about, is it on time and on budget, and what have you learned so far?
So I'm going to allow our resident IT board expert to talk about this a bit. Travis?
So thank you very much for the question. The Hot Pass is a critical step forward for Trimet, and we look forward to its rollout. It is actually on time and running on budget, and we are actually in our beta test right now, so we're looking at the July rollout. And one of the big things that is part of the rollout is making sure that we've got this available to our ridership, and part of that process is making sure that we've got a number of retailers that are actually selling the cards and giving access to our riders. Currently, we have about 1,000 beta testers who are currently beta testing the system, and on a daily basis, we get very few calls, and that's a positive as we look to roll out the full system later on this summer. We've got very few issues, and frankly, it's exceeding our expectations, how the rollout has gone. But as you know, I don't know if you remember from prior years, there was a lot of preparation that went into this. We're not the first organization, the first transit agency that it's rolled out an electronic fare card. And so we actually have access to resources of various organizations and consultants. CH2 has been a critical help as we've gone through the process, and they've been very helpful in ensuring that we have access to other organizations that have rolled this out and rolled it out effectively. So we've learned from those processes, and we're able to incorporate a lot of that stuff into our implementation and rollout of the program. Chris Tucker, head of revenue, has been just a phenomenal leader in moving this effort forward, and I'm sure he could add some things if I've missed it. But we are excited about the rollout of the Hop Fast Pass, and it's going well. When I ride, I see people who are excited about it and talking about it, so we're ready to get it rolled out. But again, it's going very, very well as far as we can tell, with the limited amount of calls that come in on a daily basis. So I don't know if Chris has anything to add on top of that in regards to that question.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I would just add that what we're most pleased about is the system is very intuitive to use, and that's, as Travis mentioned, that we are only seeing a few calls a day, which is important. So I think the strategy of the very slow, methodical testing is working well for us. Some of you may recall that we started testing the system 18 months ago. So as we iterate and add to it, we're very careful to thoroughly test each step of the way.
So you've got 1,000 testers right now. Is it going to gradually go, or just when it goes live, it'll just be available to everybody?
Chris can go ahead and answer that.
Sure. So as I mentioned, the methodical piece, we're adding about 500 users every 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to
so
ramp up.
So it's just 1,000 today.
It's 1,000 today, which will continually ramp up every 2 weeks to make sure that we're ready to go this summer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I ask just a quick factual question on that too? So Director Stovall indicated the importance of retailers who are selling the cards. So how many retailers are carrying it right now, and what are you hoping it will grow to at time of implementation?
Yeah, so currently we control the disbursement of the physical cards. So they're not in retailers today.
Okay.
We're mailing to our beta testers. If we put them in stores, everyone would go get them, and
right.
they would be gone.
That makes sense.
We've got over 100 retailers you can reload at today, and we will be at 500 this summer, at which time cards will be in those retail stores. And once they're in the stores, we let the public know they can all get the cards and reload. We just want to make sure we don't run out.
You know, Trimet is charging for those cards. They're supposed to issue a whole, like 200,000 free cards, but I see that's gone down on the road. I haven't heard another word about it. And they're charging for the cards, and they have 100 retailers, which is nothing. And they expect 500 retailers, which doesn't seem like enough either. It seems like more like 1,000 or 2,000 would be sufficient. I can't wait to see how this goes, given Trimet's dubious record of fare collecting techniques. I can't wait to see how this works out in reality.
And with that, you said 500 retailers will carry it, and you feel like that's a pretty good spread across the city, that the people, it'll be pretty accessible no matter where you live?
Yeah, we think so. We were careful on which ones we chose. Pretty early on, we wanted to also add Plaid Pantry to the mix, which has another 100 stores. We were successful in doing that. Their integration's happening today. We will not stop looking at other retailers to add those. So it's really going to be ongoing. So if any gaps are identified, even after we roll out, we want to plug those gaps and add those retailers.
Perfect. Thank you.
One of the aspects of FastPass that we talked about last time was that you're going to cap the daily charge against that card. And we were just wondering if that would have any revenue impacts for you.
Yes, it will. Actually, yeah. As you can imagine, it does have an impact. Ultimately, our early estimates have us at about $1 million annually in regards to a revenue decrease, and part of that's going to be offset by the reduction in cash collection cost. So over time, as folks gravitate more and more towards the Hop Fast Pass and the electronic fare system, we'll see less and less utilization of cash, which then lowers our requirement to send actual physical folks out to actually collect that cash from all the ticket machines all around the region. So there's going to be an offset of that cost as we see a decrease in the fare capping. But the fare capping is really going to benefit a lot of our customers. One of the areas that we see the utilization of the daily cash payment system are folks who are generally are frequent riders and are transit dependent. And so they're going to see a benefit from this, because what happens is once they've ridden 20 times in a month, then they actually stop paying the rest of that month. So they get the benefit of buying a monthly pass per se, by utilizing the daily system, which historically they didn't have. They would have had to have purchased day passes or rides throughout the entire month. So
Okay, even I have to admit that's a good thing. That's a good thing that that's actually going to happen. I don't know what they're doing about minimum charges on this. I don't recall hearing if this is like the same thing they're do with the cell phone. They make you buy a minimum amount. You can't use your cell phone app for less than $5, which is discriminatory against poor people, of course. I haven't heard anything about minimum charges on this. I'm not sure how that works, and maybe somebody out there has heard. They're not talking about that either.
that's something that's going to be a significant benefit, specifically to our transit-dependent riders. Again, we see roughly about $1 million in revenue decrease, but we see that actually diminishing over time as we offset it by the lower cash collection cost over time. So we do see an initial cash hit, not necessarily cash hit, but revenue hit, but again, offsetting over time. But we see it as a significant benefit to the folks that ride the most and the folks that need it the most.
So the cap will be equal to what a monthly pass would cost?
That's correct.
So these people typically don't buy monthly pass even though they use it more than... Okay.
That's correct. Generally they don't have the access to the cash per se to purchase the monthly pass at one set time. And so generally they're buying $250 passes throughout the month. So this is going to see a great benefit for those folks.
Definitely.
That's going to be terrific for PSU students.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let's stop there. This is part one. Let's stop there, and there's an aspect of the electronic fare that they're not talking about. So let's show you what the truth is about this.
Anybody see on the subway, link your MetroCard to your debit card, right? And like auto refill? This is the concept which is key to everything we'll talk about today, and it's called linkability. Take one piece of data and link it to another piece of data. So for example, if you have your MetroCard and you have your debit card, you have those things and you can draw a line between them, right? So that's like not a scary thing, except your bank card is tied to everything else that you do during the day. So now they know where you're going when you make purchases. So when they decide to target you, they can actually recreate your exact steps with a MetroCard and with the credit card alone. Like literally where you go and what you buy. And potentially by linking that data with other people on similar travel plans, they can figure out who you talked to and who you met with. When you then take cell phone data, which logs your location, and you link up purchasing data, MetroCard data, and your debit card, you start to get what you could call metadata in aggregate over a person's life. And metadata in aggregate is content. It tells a story about you, which is made up of facts, but is not necessarily true. So for example, just because you were on the corner and all those data points point to it, it doesn't mean you committed the crime. So it's important to note that if someone has a perception of you having done a thing, it will now follow you for the rest of your life.